Welcome to this session on developing a research aim, questions and objectives. The session objectives are to understand how research aims, questions and objectives can be developed, and develop a research aim and a set of research questions and objectives for your own research. When it comes to your own research project, there are no fixed requirements for the number of research aims, questions or objectives you can have. However, one research aim, one or two research questions, and 2 or 3 research objectives would be advisable. This is because if you have more than one research aim or more than 2 research questions, it is likely you will not have the depth and word limit to be able to answer these questions and achieve more than one aim. The research aim, questions and objectives should be original and they should be able to provide fresh insight. So what is more important isn't the number of research questions you have, but rather their quality and their innovative contribution, which we discussed in the previous session. When it comes to thinking of ideas, possible sources include reflecting on previous study and previous courses and modules you undertook. What did you enjoy? Was there anything that jumped out that you thought, I'd like to explore this in more detail? Of course, you should consider your own interests. What do you enjoy? It's important that you pick a topic and develop research aims, questions and objectives in a topic that you find interesting. You might also want to consider future career plans, and you might want to undertake research into topics which could help your career. It's also advisable to scan published literature so you know what is already out there and to make sure that what you are undertaking is innovative and will provide an innovative contribution. Discussion and negotiation with employers and peers can also be very useful, because maybe in organisations you're familiar with, there is already a business need where research could be undertaken to answer a research question. When it comes to generating a research idea, in order to ensure that it makes an innovative contribution and is new, original and novel, there are several things you can do to help to support this. These include considering a geographic or cultural transposition. So if, once you've scanned the literature, you see that lots of research has been conducted in the north, you could undertake a geographic or cultural transposition to undertake research in the south, or undertake research in a different geographic or cultural location. You might also want to consider a methodological transposition. So if all the research in a particular topic is qualitative, you might want to undertake quantitative research, or vice versa. You could also consider a conceptual transposition. So if all the research has been undertaken from one conceptual direction, you could look from another conceptual direction. So for example, if all the existing research has been undertaken on work-life balance of parents, could you approach this from a different direction and look at the work-life balance for carers? You can also undertake a sector transposition. So if most of the existing research has been undertaken looking at corporate organisations, you could consider research in small and medium-sized enterprises. Or if most of the research has been undertaken in public sector organisations, could you undertake similar research in private organisations or vice versa? Finally, you could consider a piece of action research. This would involve speaking to working organisations and businesses to see if there is an organisational change you could institute? Is there a problem they need overcome? And action research involves putting in an intervention or a change in an organisation and seeing what impact it has. So if there is an existing problem in an organisation you can work with and are familiar with, could you make an intervention and measure the impact it has and whether it is successful? Now, once you have your general research idea, you need to move this along and develop a research aim, a research question, and finally research objectives. So your research idea is your rough topic, and then your research aim is what you seek to achieve with your project, and then your research questions are the questions you want your research to answer, and your research objectives are the steps you will need to undertake to achieve your research question and meet your research aim. So, one way you can develop a research question, aim, and objective is to undertake this developmental activity, whereby you start off thinking about two interests you have. Then you work out a topic, putting these two interests together. And then is there a question in this topic that needs answering? And then if you go back a step, what would be the overall research aim that you seek to achieve by answering this question? And then finally, what would be the steps and the objectives you would need to take to answer your research question and meet your aim? Now, this developmental activity approaches developing a research aim, question, objectives in a particular way. There are other ways you can do this by yourself, but this is a good way to start getting you to think about how you can develop a topic from your interests, research questions, an aim and objective. So, my example. I am interested in app developers and business models. So therefore, what is going on in these two areas, I might be interested as a topic in business model changes by app developers. The questions that I could ask could be, why are app developers changing their business models? And how are app developers changing their business models? And if I answered these two questions, the aim and what I want to achieve with this project could be to understand why and how app developers are changing their business models. And then the individual steps and objectives I would need to complete to answer the questions and achieve the research aim could be to review the different types of business models used by app developers and to interview app developers to explore why and how they have developed their business models.